first thing that I want to do is take a minute to say thank you before we really get started. Thank you to all of you in the audience who bought tickets and showed up or became paid subscribers to us to support the Wham Bam Project and attend the live show. I want to thank our founding members. We call them our big mamas. Substack writer Amy Gabriel, who's also the author of the upcoming memoir Widow in the City, that publishes in May 2026, and it's going to be hot. To Amy B. of In a Nutshell Storytelling. It's a show that takes place on a real stage in Sacramento, California. The shows are recorded and you can listen to them on Nutshell's Substack page. And to Michael Baccio, whether he's here or not, he's a reader, a fan, and a really sweet guy. They all stepped up right at the beginning, and I was absolutely floored by their generosity. Thanks always to Eileen Dougherty. Eileen, wave. Eileen. Oh, I lost my script. Hold on. Um, she's my snarky slam sister. She adds punch wherever she goes. To Slamone de Beauvoir, who hasn't shown up once. I'm beginning to think she might be a figment of our collective imagination. She does make a great logo, though. To Mel Mosley, our Zoom maven. We call her Zoomamela when she's at the controls. And thank you to Jean Vitale, my oldest friend, and our video editor extraordinaire. For those of you who opted to pay a little extra to support this project when you bought your tickets, thank you so much. And one more thing. I have always been committed to boosting others. That's my primary reason for doing this, to shine a light on the fabulous women and underrepresented writers on Substack who might not be getting the exposure that the algorithm gives to its bigger names. We need one another to expand our reach. And of course, there's that feminist piece. We have to keep talking, telling, yelling, and celebrating our wisdom, our strength, and our kick-ass resolve. I feel a little uncomfortable right now. I kind of feel like the board president of my synagogue on the high holy days. I have to do the money thing for just a minute. It's a thing that's sometimes hard to talk about, but we have to give that up. Women deserve to earn. We work hard, and too often we don't get paid, especially for the things that feed our hearts and minds. If you have fun today and appreciate what we're doing here, please become a paid subscriber. This is a big effort, and we need your support in order to grow, to keep producing this event. A paid subscription will get you into every live show and give you full access to everything that's paywalled on the site. And if you're a writer on Substack and you don't identify as male, we want you to sign up and tell one of your stories. Maybe you've never done it before. Maybe it feels scary. Those are two great reasons to say yes, I'm in. Okay, I'm thirsty. Thank you for listening to my speech. Okay, so we're going to start this Love Boat cruise with Eileen, my partner in Slam. When Eileen isn't flying around the country, passing out drinks, snacks, and snark, she's scribbling her musings at You're Right, I Do Look Tired. Diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2018, she chronicles her unconventional life, most recently featuring tales of how she spent her brain surgery summer. It was hot. Eileen.
Hey, I just want to give a shout out to my auntie who's here. Auntie in the house. Yes. All right. All right. He asks me why our relationship isn't working. I can't figure out how to tell him it is because he is a bank and I am a candy store. But I'm not always selling sweetness. Some days I am a library where the written word is my gospel. I'm only of interest to a select few, the old, the frugal, the Luddites, the outliers. But there is a discernible buzz that cuts through the library's silence, the humming of reverence from those who choose to read. Some days I am a neighborhood bar, clamoring with the sounds of the jukebox and people telling stories with their hands. He is a bank and he has always been a bank. I am comfortable with him being a bank because the bank is necessary and predictable. I know what to expect from the bank. I know that banks represent structure and responsibility. I look to them to keep me grounded and safe and secure. But he's been around so many other banks all of his life, it didn't occur to him that there are other options besides being a bank. He seemed content with me not being a bank at first. In fact, he found me to be a refreshing change. But he grew weary of seeing how many places I could be, and he became confused by the fact that I was someplace different every time he came to visit. This made him feel uneasy. It made him question his decision to remain a bank. I suggest that although he is most certainly a bank, he could still change and grow. He could be open on Saturdays, perhaps. He could paint the walls or put in new carpet or play something other than classical music. No, 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 he tells me. He's always been a bank precisely this way, and he doesn't want to change. I understand his trepidation. I know because I've failed at being so many places. I worked so hard only to see them crumble and turn to dust. I saw him come alive with the sparks of possibility for a moment, only to see them extinguished by his fear. I explained to him that I tried to be a bank for many years as I felt like that's what everyone else wanted me to be. Everyone told me that being a bank was the only option as it was safe and reliable. After decades of trying, I became a hospital, full of disease and unrest, with the smell of failure and antiseptic always heavy in the air. He loved that I was a bank until he didn't. I wasn't required to be a bank with him, but he wanted something from that same predictable, steady category, like a grocery store or a car dealership. He was threatened by my variety, all of my choices. I loved being a candy store above all else, and it seems like he feasted on my confections until his sugar buzz wore off. To make him happy, I then became the corner store that he visits every morning, the one where they know him by his routine. Coffee, two creams, one sugar, precisely at 8 a.m. But this exercise in rigidity does not suit me. I begin to sleep late, relieved that I don't have to concern myself with anyone's coffee but my own. He does not understand why the store is now gone, shuttered without warning or explanation. That is how abruptly I make myself a memory. I now spend my days searching for those who can be an architectural firm full of creative plans for the future, or a music store ringing with a joyful noise, or a comedy club where the wounded transform their pain into laughter. I must believe that people who can embrace all that I am on any given day will continue to find me and that they will be willing to make an investment in the building of love. Thank you.
Woo! Beautiful.
We have to do this.
Yay!
Love
I still have 9
I
seconds.
love it.
I have a question. That was awesome.
Amazing
And the
writing.
question is, could you see the timer that I didn't
Happy
turn
dancing.
off? That I didn't turn off. Could you see it, Aileen?
Yes, I could.
Okay, great. Could you see emojis that people were sending you?
I might have just been concentrating.
Okay,
So
okay,
yes, and I did actually.
okay.
I did see some little
Thank,
floating names and things.
great. Thank you. Okay, so if you are not muted, please mute yourselves, and we will go on to our next story. I am now introducing you to Carrie Bentley Quinn. Carrie is a playwright, an essayist, a watercolor artist who lives in New York City. Her dark humor comes courtesy of a dysfunctional childhood, undiagnosed ADHD, and being an elder millennial who has lived through too many unprecedented events. Her newsletter is called The Long Climb. Welcome, Carrie.
Hi. So a long, long time ago, in the olden days of the 1990s, I was in love with a stupid boy. His name was Danny. He was beautiful, one of those Irish boys with dark brown hair and blue eyes. He lived up the street from me, and I followed him around like a puppy dog. We hung out from time to time, and we were in the same classes at elementary school. He taught me how to play tennis, even though I'm not athletic at all. In sixth grade, though, my whole class turned on me. I was bullied relentlessly for an entire year. Danny wasn't really part of it, but he pretended I didn't exist. That hurt worse than anything the bullies had to say. But all was not lost for little me. Sixth grade was the year I made my theatrical debut. I was a munchkin in The Wizard of Oz in our spring production. Danny was in it too, and he played the wizard. By the time the show was over, we weren't exactly besties, but at least he wasn't ignoring me anymore. Seeing as I was like a little Delulu and I definitely watched too much Days of Our Lives, I took this to mean that I still had a chance. When we started seventh grade, my love for Danny was still burning bright. And then, before we knew it, the school dance was upon us. I was in some hideous outfit from like J.C. Penney. I think it involved a bodysuit. Ugh, horrible. I had bangs, for fuck's sake. After dancing to the dulcet tones of Belle Biv DeVoe and Boys to Men, I chatted with some of my new girlfriends in the cafeteria. One of them was this girl, Lainey, a girl who had definitely been described as like loud and annoying, so naturally we got along great. Danny was sitting all alone at a table, and I kept staring at him. He looked so cute in his suit and tie. My friends noticed my staring and dared me to ask him to dance. I couldn't muster up the courage, so they decided to ask him for me. I awkwardly drank my can of Sprite and tried to act like that wasn't happening. When they got back, I knew from the looks on their faces that the answer was no. The rejection felt like a tidal wave crashing over me. But I did what I do when my feelings are hurt. I made a little joke. Ugh, I said, I wish I could just dump this whole can of Sprite on his stupid head. No sooner than those words left my mouth, Lainey grabbed the Sprite can out of my hand, marched straight over to Danny, said, "This is from Carrie," and dumped the entire can of Sprite on his head. For 1 second, I felt giddy, vindicated. But then I realized that he thought this was all of my idea. I prayed for the ground to open up and swallow me. And then I remembered that we were technically still at school and the teachers had been informed. Lainey confessed to her crime without implicating me, bless her, and her parents were called to take her home. But I felt like I really had to check on Danny. I mean, he was slumped against the wall in the hallway and he had obviously been crying. It broke my heart in two because I knew what it felt like to be humiliated. I crouched down next to him. He wouldn't even look at me. "I'm so sorry," I said. "I made a stupid joke and Lainey is like mental or something. I don't know why she did that." He looked at me, those big, beautiful eyes wet with tears. "Oh, sorry." Can you all hear me? Okay, good. And in a voice more quiet than I'd ever heard from him, said, "I didn't even say no. I said not right now." My friends insist that's not what he said, but I took that as a kindness. But I knew he could never be mine. There are just some things you don't come back from. I still don't remember exactly who came up with it, but it still makes me laugh even to this day. You may recall from earlier that Danny had played the wizard in our production of Wizard of Oz. From that day forward, this dance was known as Fizz on the Whiz. And so it was, and so it shall be forever and ever. Amen.
Yay.
Yay! Great job. That was
Technical difficulties.
Brilliant.
No worries.
Awesome.
No worries.
So
This is
good.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Yay.
guys. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Great.
Thank you, Carrie. Great job. So this is the thing, right? It's not a contest. So if you go over Not a big deal. I will try and remember to jump on the interruption as quickly as I can. But no being we don't get to be hard on ourselves here. Okay? I really want to instill that. Okay, our next reader is Rachel Kramer Bussell. Rachel has the word open tattooed on her back and heart inked on her arm. Together, they reveal her approach to life and love. There's no topic too out there for her to bear all, sometimes literally. Don't do that, okay? Rachel, not today, please. Her claim to fame is having eaten cupcakes in 26 states and 4 countries, and she'd love to add more to those tallies. Rachel publishes Open Secrets magazine. She's organizing an amazing conference that will take place at Symphony Space in New York City in May. So if there are still tickets, get a ticket. Are there still tickets, Rachel?
Yes. One
Cool.
second.
All
Put
right.
it.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready. Okay, started.
You want to start again? We can start again. It's fine.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Ready? Okay.
The first time I knew my boyfriend Drew truly loved me wasn't when he said those proverbial 3 little words a few months into our relationship, immediately after I'd said them so softly that he had to ask me, "What?" I was pretty sure, but since actions speak louder than words, the proof I hadn't known I was looking for occurred after we moved in together. We moved into a 2 bedroom apartment and we were already in our mid 30s. So that gave us plenty of time to have collected adult trinkets. But one of us had a lot more trinkets than the other one. I'm a hoarder, and I don't mean that in like a cutesy, jokey way, the way people who have a messy desk at work say, "Oh, I'm such a hoarder." I mean it in the 13 years I lived in my Brooklyn apartment, no one I was dating visited me when I was dating them by my choice. Like I banished them basically. And I mean that I had to hire a trash removal service after I finally left the apartment and pay to have them move my remaining stuff out. And they didn't even get to everything because they ran out of the allotted time. And so the landlord called the next month and said, "Hey, your rent is due." And I said, "Oh, I told you I moved out," but they didn't know because there was still a lot of stuff there. And I said, "Just use my security deposit," because I knew I was never going to get it back. Whereas Drew, like on a regular basis, looks around our home and looks for things to throw out. And I get nervous to travel because I think he's going to like clear out like, huge swaths of my stuff while I'm gone. So, a couple months into our new home, I came downstairs one day and I saw him sorting through something. And I walked closer and I saw that he was organizing a stack of greeting cards, and they were all from me. And in the 15 months we'd dated before we moved in together, I'd sent him several dozen cards. And that's my real love language with both romantic partners and friends. I have multiple friends who've told me they have more cards from me than they have from their own family members. But I was still shocked that he'd kept them because he's the type of person who gets a holiday card in the mail, looks at it, smiles, and then puts it in the recycling. Whereas I always feel like there's like someone looking over my shoulder, like the person who sent it when I do that, and they are going to know that I'd thrown it out and feel like I'm throwing out our friendship. So we're total opposites in that regard. And even now, 14 years later, I still tear up when I think about him having saved all those cards. He's saved cards of musicians that he's a fan of, like Prince and Bruce Springsteen. He's saved postcards from Curacao and Dubai. He's saved some pretty funny cards. This one says, "This card made me think of us and how we would never do this." Two people hiking up a mountain. This one says, "If you were a corpse and I was a vulture, I would pick your bones clean." And this is a pretty true one. It says, there is no one else, nobody else I'd rather lie in bed next to and lie in bed and look at my phone next to. And now we're parents of a 1 year old who you might hear screaming in the background. And so I'm in charge of, his birthday cards and Father's Day cards from her. And she's only one, so there haven't been a lot of them yet. And we have a glass coffee table, and he regularly rotates them in and out. And every time I see him do that, my heart like still flutters. And I still worry, even after all this time, that our stuff is such a point of contention. Like it's literally the thing we argue about the most, probably at least once a week. We'll go in circles. He'll ask me, like, why do you have so many books spilling out of your bookcase? And I'm like, duh, because books are amazing. But when I see those cards on display, or I rummage through his collection and know that he's still kept all ones I've kept on sending him, I know that we're in pretty good shape. Extra display, I'm going to show you. Tell me if you can see it.
Yes.
We need
Yeah.
clapping, clapping,
Lovely.
clapping.
That is
Aw.
so cool.
It was a beautiful story.
Rachel, thank you. That
Lovely.
was so good.
Beautiful.
Sweet.
Beautiful.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Rachel Kramer Bussell, Open Secrets Magazine. Okay, next up is Sarah Hauser. Sarah works with feral, fearful, feisty felines, preparing them for their forever families. Are the felines feminist by any chance? She's been a visual artist for decades and she's got an awesome Etsy shop, but you can find her on Substack at Notes from an Uncaged Warrior Parakeet. Sarah Hauser, this is her first time doing a slam. So go for it, Sarah.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
I fell in love with him the moment I saw him standing on the silver medal examining table at Animal Medical Center. His rescuer said a firehouse wanted to adopt him, but she was hoping he would come home with me. He was an adorable 7-month-old gray tabby kitten, long and lean with little white boots and huge green eyes so wide open like cartoon eyes with spirals in them. I petted him a little and he bit me. That's okay. That's okay. He's just a little nervous. Of course, I had to bring him home with me. Immediately, my partner Jeffrey had the most perfect name for him, Garbanzo. Garbanzo had been recently rescued from the streets of Brooklyn. He really wanted affection, but he also was extremely sensitive and could get overstimulated in an instant and bite hard. But he also would snuggle with us on the couch, laying on top of us, stretching out and purring. And other times I held him like a baby and sang to him as he relaxed into my arms. What became our song was the Beatles song, And I Love Her. Bright are the stars that shine, dark is the sky. I know this love of mine will never die, and I love him. In those moments, time and space ceased to exist, suspended in that beautiful moment of connection beyond words. I love this little guy so much and wanted to learn how I could help him feel calmer and help our relationship to be more peaceful. I'd heard about T-Touch, a gentle modality from Linda Tellington Jones that calmed the nervous system. I got Linda's video and books and began to teach myself the work. Garbanzo began to respond to it. It didn't change his personality, nor would I want it to, or expect that. But as I continued, he started relaxing in the touch rather than being startled by it. Something was starting to shift in a subtle but profound way. And this was the beginning of our 18-year journey together. Garbanzo taught me so much about love, patience, acceptance, and truly being in the moment. I knew I would always need to be mindful of his body language, and he taught me to slow myself down so I could really be in tune with him. I was grateful to find a way to help him be more comfortable, a way for us both to feel safer, and a way to deepen our connection. My work with Garbanzo led me to professional training in T-Touch, Reiki energy healing, and other modalities, and to the work I do with cats in shelters. Through the work, the most fearful and feral cats started coming out of their shells, and the feisty ones started calming down. Cats thought to be completely unadoptable were getting adopted, and I realized this was where I was supposed to be. And Garbanzo was the best teacher I could ever have. Garbanzo's story led to so many other stories, waves of love and energy rippling further and further out into the world, experiences I could never have imagined. And in my journey with Garbanzo, we became such a part of each other. The modalities I'd learned gave us a pathway to a quiet, peaceful space where we would meet every single day of his life, and even after he left the earth. It's so many years later now, but I'll always feel him in my heart, his wild spirit and huge presence forever with me. I'm holding him again, swaying and singing our song. A love like ours could never die as long as I have you near me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Sarah.
Great.
Beautiful.
You know how where the
Great
touch came from for you.
Garbanzo.
Here's Garbanzo, if you can see.
Oh.
And here's sort of a before and after.
So expressive.
Okay.
The cat.
Thanks,
Oh,
Sarah. Okay,
Pleasure.
Sarah writes notes from an uncaged warrior parakeet. Find her on Substack. Okay, next up, Kara Westerman lives and works in East Hampton, New York, where she's collaborating on a big, messy book with her late trans husband about death, resurrection, transformation, and waking up. You can find serialized chapters at Kara's Substack, A Suitable Vessel for Magic. Kara Westerman.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. One golden afternoon, our first February on my bed. This might be our first day of full body contact. We have all our clothes on, except our shoes. I unlace yours and place them side by side under the bed. We pull sheets up over our heads like a tent. Sunlight filters through. The white cotton falls, embracing us, blurring middle-aged creases and imperfections. We don't worry. We don't need to worry about how our naked bodies look, so we can relax. We are going to savor these early days. There will be rules. We're sober people, and we won't be spending ourselves too soon. We'll show ourselves in stages, and you'll decide when it's time for the next reveal. You have so much more at stake in the striptease. At any juncture, you might startle me out of my trance with the reality of your trans body. It sounds very adult, but it only makes things steamier. Your buttons are hard to undo, always too snug for their eyelets, since you replaced the plastic ones with mother of pearl. For you, it's all in the details. I feel the heat of your body as I unbutton your shirt and reach inside the starched cotton. I see the scars on your chest for the first time. Your top surgery was 15 years ago, but it looks like it might still hurt. I touch around them lightly, transmitting goosebumps. When you tell me it's all right, I trace the still shiny pink skin of the scars. You don't know for sure whether I'm all in or not, and you haven't told me yet what I might find below your belt. But I am as fascinated with your repairs, deletions, and possible additions as I am with the intricacies of your mind. Your jeans are stiff, ironed. I feel a hardness pushing against me as we roll around, but I don't truly know. How crazy is it that I still don't know what you have in your pants? I don't know if this was the day you tell me you did not have bottom surgery. I only know we're lying side by side in the dark when you explain how broken you are. and how complex the operation is from female to male. They might have used parts of your inner thigh to fashion into a penis, but it might have looked strange, and you might never have been able to have an orgasm, so it just wasn't worth the risk. I think I say offhandedly that penises aren't really the most important things to me anyway. I don't want you to know I'm scared. I don't want any expression of regret on my face, even in the darkened room. Maybe we're looking up at the ceiling and only taking small glances at each other, but I'm not sure that's right anymore. Besides, there's no turning back. I have decided to take you any way you are sliced. A few months after you die, I open the drawers under your side of the bed and find your envelopes, staples, ink, and stacks of yellow Post-its. I flip through a yellow square, inhaling chemicals. Small scalpels of panic sear my veins. I had bargained on my knees with God in this attic, and nothing I did could keep you here, but these Post-its are solid as ever. The drawer by your nightstand has heavy white cord lengths of our heated mattress pad that made winter in the attic bearable. I unroll a smaller white heating pad and gasp. Your most secret silicone part, an extension you warmed to body temperature. This is secret beyond secret. I was only allowed to see it when it was attached to your body. My chest actually heaves as I gasp for breath. These pieces left behind are articulations of your body, articulates to my inticulates. If you hadn't donated yourself to science, I could have kept your extensions with you, but it would have made an embarrassing cremation. So I wrapped them back up safely with your Christmas ornaments for a time in the future when I might know how to relate to them. Maybe as if they're souvenirs, like others save cufflinks or wooden legs or medals from war. The joke from Absolutely Fabulous is that when women with breast implants die, they will only leave behind silicone for archaeologists to find. Thousands of years after their bodies have decomposed, these lumps will remain. I sit on the floor and shake with anger and tears. Our matter isn't permanent in form. Nothing stays. But it's the good news, bad news thing, since nothing ever goes away either. Every particle returned and returned again, the world empty of itself as itself, but full of the clear stuff of renewal. It's the only place to find you.
Wow.
Everybody
Unbelievable.
clap.
Powerful.
Kara, that was
Gorgeous,
beautiful.
gorgeous.
Beautiful, Kara.
Love story.
Beautiful.
Thank you
Stunning.
so much for that
Riveting.
story.
Also, I have the same Woman Who Killed book that is behind you.
Not mine, my husband's.
Okay, if everybody could please mute themselves. Please be aware of your muting and unmuting if possible, because if you're unmuted and there's sound going on, it can be very distracting for whoever is reading. Just a note. Okay, next up, Amanda Jaffe. I call her cousin Amanda because I feel like we grew up in the same family. And we just met because of the slam. Amanda is an ex-lawyer turned writer who's immensely happier now that she gets to play with words instead of billing for them. She spends her days determined to laugh, convince her husband and adult kids she's funny, and remove tissues from her pockets before she does laundry. Amanda writes Age of Enlightenment. Thank you, Amanda Jaffe. Ready when you are.
Okay, thank you. I'm honeymooning on the Love Boat. Except the Love Boat's a British Army truck turned open-air safari mobile. We're driving through the Serengeti, and our cruise director is a spiky-haired, highly pierced Brit named Stan. When you take a budget group trip from Zimbabwe, you don't glamp. You sleep in a tent you pitch yourself. You're the crew. And when it's your turn to make breakfast, you sleep on the truck because cooking for a crowd doesn't take much time. Nothing says honeymoon like a truckload of strangers and chores. Tonight, it's our turn to sleep on the truck. I'm thrilled, not just because I get to sleep on a bench instead of the ground, but because our campsite is known for nocturnal hyenas. At our nightly briefing, Spiky Stan turned serious. No one goes to the loo alone, he says. And if you do go to the loo, you'll need a shovel because there is no loo. Tonight, we dig holes. Got it. Don't leave the truck. And no matter what, don't go to the loo. My stomach, sadly, ignores the memo. By midnight, it feels like I swallowed a self-wringing dish towel. I jam my feet into my boots, stumble out of the truck, and stand just long enough to double over. I whisper 3 little words, not in a honeymoon way. Bring the shovel. Afterward, my husband lays the shovel down, sits beside me on the truck steps, and sighs. It's weirdly romantic. If you warn me next time, he says, I'll dig the hole before, okay? He waves his flashlight into the darkness, and my stomach clenches again. I just threw up in front of my brand new husband for the very first time. It's time for yet another gastric first. This time, I warn him. He digs a hole with one hand, a foot, and a shoulder. He needs his other hand for the flashlight. I squat, mortified, desperate to crawl inside the hole beneath me, praying no one in our group wakes up. A minute later, my husband whispers 3 little words, also not in a honeymoon way. Are you done? I follow the beam of his flashlight beyond the tents and realize our intimate moment isn't all that intimate. According to Stan, hyenas are opportunists that prefer their prey already dead, but they're willing to consider an animal that's too wounded to run. Right now, 6 sets of eyes are assessing the situation. And let's be clear, I'm the situation, they're hyenas. Is this how it ends? Hapless honeymooner devoured by howling hyenas? No, this is how it ends. We spend the night on and off the Love Boat, giving the hyenas a reason to laugh. It's like a stand-up routine, but minus the standing. My dignity is in tatters, but my loving husband keeps me intact all night long.
Wow. Amazing.
Great job.
Hilarious.
That was
Yikes.
wonderful. Thank you.
It's right there.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, this is sort of like our
Wilderness
informal,
party.
not really an intermission, just a segue to I can't find her. I know she's here. Oh my God. There she is.
I'm
Mel,
right
are
here.
you Mel, are you no. I meant on my script. Because I didn't put it in the right place. I'm ready. So Mel was in our first slam and she was fabulous. And she was the person who was trying to help us figure out what was wrong with the Zoom and how to work things. And somebody overheard her say, I know how to do all this stuff, and told me about it later because I was running the Zoom and everything else. Practically, Eileen was doing the timer, and I knew I needed help. I can't do that, all of it, and she stepped up. And I'm so thrilled that she's part of the team now. She's just terrific. All right, here's the official intro. Mel Mosley is a storyteller, writer, actor, musician, artist, and fledgling witch. She lives with her black cat, Shadow, mostly off-grid in Fiddletown, California, which I found out is the smallest town in California. If you want to collaborate with Mel, the project has to include play, community, and creativity. Mel writes Mel's Messy Love Lab. Mel Mosley, everybody.
Woo. All right. So the moment he showed up on the planet and I held him in my arms, I knew what love was. The expanse I felt in my body told me that my mom loved me that much too, and it was blinding. I did not know what love truly meant until I gave birth to my kid. I didn't think I'd ever be a mom. It wasn't in the cards. When I hit 36, I was running a theater company with my husband, Joel. We were doing our best to hold down day jobs while attempting to make thought-provoking theater in the Denver area. A kid was not on the list. The work we were doing developing shows was our kid. And what we were creating was really challenging. It was also bringing in audiences and connecting us to other experimental artists. We were developing new works and reimagining classical works and bringing creative communities together. And then I got pregnant. I got pregnant on the pill. I had been on the pill since I was 21 years old, and I was religious about it. I'd had an abortion at 20, and I knew I never wanted to do that again, and still, I got pregnant at 36. Joel and I talked about options, and we decided that we might as well let this human land. He fought that hard to get here, so that's what we did. And then there was an Ethan in the world. And here we are 24 years later, and he's an adult human being, not quite cooked. Our brains take around 25 years to get settled, but he's basically there. I describe him as the most emotionally intelligent human being that I know, and that's been true about him since the very beginning. On a drive from from Portland to visit my mom, Ethan was probably 3 years old at the time, and he was sitting in the back in the car seat, and I hit some traffic, and I got really flustered and anxious, and it's likely that I said something angry, or I might have started crying, or I shut down, or I did nothing or something, and he sensed it. And I heard this tiny little voice in the back of the car, and he said, "It's okay, Mom, just breathe." And I did. And it was calming. And I felt better. I used to hold him and I used to say that exact thing in his tiny little ear when he was sick or overwhelmed. I'd just say, "Ethan, just breathe." So, in this last few months, he's moved from Portland, Oregon to Eugene to start work on a life there, finding a job, auditioning for shows, developing his friend group, all the things that mark the beginning of an adult life. He reached out for some help and accountability, and I needed it too. And so we set up daily Zoom calls to check in and see what's going on with each other. We fill each other in on what's happening, what we've accomplished, and then we just hang out, have fun. What a gift it is to have an adult child that actually enjoys you and wants to hang out with you and just shoot the shit. At a recent Zoom call, we were talking about what he wants to do with his journalism degree, and he talked about some friends that he knows that are working in news, and I suggested he check in with them. He said, "No one wants what I'm writing. I'm too flowery. I'm writing about people's feelings." Of course it is. Of course that's what he's doing. It's who he is. And I do know that there's a space for that intuitive connection that he has to the emotional zeitgeist. It's just hard to see where it can go, and when you're good at something that just isn't valued financially in this capitalistic country that we live in. The world might not pay well for feeling-based writing yet, but I believe that people are hungry for authentic connection, and that's exactly what he offers. I'm not worried about Ethan finding his place. He knows where to go and where to ask for support, and he's brave enough to reach out. I'm excited to watch him cultivate his place in a world that's waiting for him and truly needs his perspective. That's the best love I can think of.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
Yay.
Thanks, Mel. That was so good.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Okay. Good
Love the
job.
kids. The kids are the best.
He's awesome.
All right. Now we move on to Jennifer Silva Redmond. Jennifer was a professional actress at age 14, and by 28, she was touring in a musical and performing off Broadway. She got hooked on writing in her 30s because she could play all the parts, plus direct and produce without going to a single audition. The only thing she likes better than writing is editing. She writes, editor on board. Take it away, Jennifer.
Jennifer, can you speak? I'm not finding you. There are
Yes.
too many people here.
Oh,
There
okay.
you are. Thank you.
And
There you
I
are.
know that Dan said I live on a boat in one of the promos, and I do, but I'm clearly not on the boat right now because the boat's in the boatyard. So that's the explanation for those of you who wondered why the editor on board is the editor in the room. So in 2011, my husband and I had already been living on a small sailboat for 22 years. And about half of that time, we had a dog on board as our furry first mate. In 2011, I also turned 50. And it was clear that we weren't going to have any human children, but we had loved our little fur kids. So we were looking forward to another. But we got a new boat when both the dog and the small boat went away. We got a new boat and started working on it. And a boat in a boatyard is a dangerous place for a small animal. It's dangerous for people too, because there's all kinds of toxins and resins and fiberglass and horrible smelling gases. But it's very hard to put a respirator on a dog. So we kept putting it off. So in 2011, we finally moved our boat to mooring in Coronado, California. And my husband and I were walking along the beach one morning, and he said, "Are we ever going to get another dog?" And I said, "Well, of course we are." And we started talking about what to do next. And he said, "Well, you know, I can't go to the Humane Society." I said, no, totally. You would come home with every dog in the rescue. And we just have this one small boat. So I said, okay, I'll look into it. I'll get online later. But instead, later, I was walking down the street when I looked about a block away and I saw the cutest little dog. So I said, I'm going to walk over and talk to the lady. And as I got closer, the dog had a vest on. And as I got up to them, I saw the vest said, "Adopt me." And I went, "Oh my God, this is the dog." And explained to the lady, and she said, "Well, you can come tomorrow. She's on a six-day hold because she was found as a stray. And so, you know, you can bring your husband to meet her tomorrow." So I did, which I was worried about because many times stray dogs are afraid of men. Sometimes they're afraid of all people, but oftentimes they're afraid of men for good reason. And so he came in with me. We all walked in. She opened the gate, and the dog ran out and ran right up to Russell and jumped up on him. And he said, "Boy, that was a good career move," which it was. And so we both fell in love with her, and we said, "We want this dog." They said, "Great, fill out these forms, and here's a deposit, and blah, blah, blah. Now we have to do a site visit." So a site visit, we live on a boat, and it's out in the moorings. They said, "Well, how do you get to your boat?" Said, "Well, we have a little rowboat." "Well, then we'll come in the little rowboat." Went, okay. So the next Monday morning, this woman who's at least 95, and she's wonderful. She's a badass. She gets right into the rowboat. He rows her over. They row around the boat talking to me about things that they think might be dangerous to a dog. And I just keep saying, okay, good. We'll do that. I'll fix that. They say, "We'll talk to you by the end of day Wednesday to let you know whether you've been accepted to get this dog." So they go away, and Russell comes back, and we're jumping up and down. Our cute little dog. We're getting a dog. And we try to think of names, and we try to think where she's going to sleep. And we do all this, and we realize it's 5 o'clock on Wednesday, and we haven't heard from these people. These people have decided that we are not worthy of parenting a stray dog. This little mutt that no one wants, we can't have, because we just don't come up to snuff, and we get kind of mad. So we sort of go, "Well, we don't even want the dog. Forget it. If you don't think we're good enough to have this dog, we don't want the dog. We wouldn't take that dog if they gave us that dog." So we're ranting and raving, and the phone rings, and I pick it up. Yes. And I put it on speaker. "Oh, sorry, we're running so late. We were having a meeting. Annie's yours if you want her." We look at each other. They say, "Well, do you still want her?" And we both go, "Of course we do. Of course we do." And we jump up and down and throw our arms around each other. Of course we want her. She's our dog. And of course, she was our dog. And she was our dog for 13 years. It was one of the best decisions we ever made.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
Love it.
That was so beautiful.
Dog on a
Thanks,
boat.
We all need it.
Jennifer.
A dog and a cat story. I'm so glad we got it all in there.
Love is love.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so next up, who do we have next? We have Janine. Okay, I'm going to say your name, and if I
Okay.
say it wrong, you're going to correct me. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Janine DiTilio Camarada?
Perfect.
Thank you. Okay, Janine, I want to tell everybody about, I meant to ask you when we were gathering before the show. Janine DiTilio Camarada is a writer who enjoys daydreaming and night flying through her astral adventures. She rides a yellow Harley Davidson with her family posse of 10. When she's not rip-roaring on back roads, she's watching football and yelling at the refs. And when Janine says football, she means the real kind, soccer. She writes Pathways of Connection. Janine.
Thank you. It was love at first sight, instant soul sisters forming a tribe. I stood at the helm as my love boat was forged around me. Iris was the first, the whole, that watertight body of smooth wood that allowed us to glide across life's waters, a perfect fit as we were cut from the same mold. Karen, the backbone of our boat, who provided structure and stability, was the keel. She maintained our ship as she held any position with steadiness in her stance and kindness in her heart. Colleen, with her quick mind and strong convictions, was a honed navigating system, equipped with the knowledge and ability to see beyond the churning waters to where we needed to be. Paula formed the main mast, rising tall with billowing sails. She pushed us forward with ease and smooth sailing through any threatening storms. Kathy, with strong ropes, chains, and cables, completed our boat. She was a rigging that held this vibrant masterpiece of friendship together. Our children were raised in an unconventional way, on the mat of a karate dojo. Women and children learning the sacred art for protection, integrity, and community. We were female warriors who would do anything to protect our young. On a summer day, that time came. My 12-year-old boy's enemy was leukemia. My love boat battened down the hatches and anchored close to shore. They prepared for this momentous storm surge, knowing that this was why we had formed our tribe. They carried me through our fight to save my son, all mothers of their own children, but with room in their hearts and home for mine. Walks, talks, food, prayers, distraction, laughter, giving with their whole beings. I see us standing in a circle in my kitchen. My house a tornado from daily trips to chemo, long stays in the hospital. My second son struggling to remain on shore with his father while his mother and brother churned in the tumultuous storm. My gals envelop me in that circle. We shake out our fear. We raise our vibrations. They prepare my home for my son's long journey, ready to walk through the treacherous tsunami. Not everyone knows what to do when someone they love is in such pain, struggling and pulled underwater, not able to breathe. My tribe did. My love boat knew what I needed, each showing up in their own heartfelt way. Again, they gathered me in when the child who took 2 years to conceive, who I birthed after 12 hours of back labor, died. This tribe of women cocooned me, rocked me gently on the ocean waves, held me tight when my legs buckled and I didn't have the words or will to live. Pain comes in rage and tempests that we never expect. Love is the vessel that carries us through this turbulent life. Rocky or calm, it's as consistent and constant as the sun rising above the water's horizon. It travels in magical and sacred forms. It appears as my tribe, my karate sisters, who are my love boat. Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody
Yay! Whoa.
unmute. I got lost in the story. I forgot to tell you what to do. Sorry.
It was powerful.
Beautiful. Yeah. What a gorgeous
Hey,
story.
Suzanne. I
Yeah.
see Suzanne Guthrie.
Beautiful.
Hi.
Beautiful.
Sorry, I had to. It's so nice to have you here. Okay. I'm so excited. I know who's next. I want to introduce you to Kelly Thompson. Kelly Thompson is truly a one of a kind human being. She really is. She came into Substack. We sort of came in, I think, around the same time, and she came in just so clear about what she wanted to build. And I'm watching her build it, and it's extraordinary. And the other thing I want to say about Kelly, I'm going to get teeny bit personal right now. Kelly had this great position. She was she was the editor for stories about addiction at the Rumpus for 10 years. Oh, 10 years, right? And we were chatting one day, and I mentioned something that I wanted to write about, and she said, submit it. And I wrote a story about the addiction to cigarettes, and Kelly published it. And it was the first time I ever submitted something, and it was the first time I was ever published someplace other than Substack, where I'm in charge. And I am forever grateful for that vote of confidence. It really helped set me free in a lot of ways. And I'm going to read the official bio now. Yeah,
Thank you,
really
Nan.
important to me. Thank you. So this is the deal. Kelly Thompson is a writer dismantling the cult of secondhand beliefs one story at a time. She works in liberation, wholeness, and inconvenient truth. If she has a religion now, it's that there's nothing wrong with you, and there never was. And guess what? Her stack is called There's Nothing Wrong with You, and There Never Was. Kelly Thompson, take it away.
There were so many men rubbing against me like cats. It makes me throw up a little in my mouth now. Look at the girl I was. Beautiful, of course, I didn't know it. Bewildered, already a mother of two. No sense of the world I'd entered when I left the cult I was born into. I was living in a basement apartment that smelled like old carpet and cigarettes. My girls slept in the next room. I lay awake listening for them to rise and fall, the proof. But there was a loneliness in that room that didn't belong to them. It belonged to me. My father said, I don't care if you're a slut, but if you hurt your mother again, I'll kill you. I was a bad girl. It was confusing because inside I was really good. I was so good, I let them, all the men couldn't fill the love-shaped hole of me. The first marriage doesn't bear much detail. It was terrible, violent. A boy man took me hostage, and I agreed because I had always agreed. Hostage to my parents, hostage to the cult, hostage to being a girl in a misogynist world. Jack was different, easygoing, loving, always buzzed. He rode a Harley, and the first time I climbed on the back of it, he reached back and put his hand on my knee. You and me, mink, he said. When I got sober, he brought a paper bag full of vitamins to the treatment center. He also told me the truth. He would never stop drinking, not for anyone. I left after I got sober. I just wanted a life that was my own. James was the love of my life. Maybe he was not because he loved me, but because he didn't. I thought he was my reward for getting sober, for doing the work, for becoming worthy. I still believed in the dream, the great passion, the missing piece. I still thought someone else could complete me. He lit candles and played pianoscapes. He gave me hiking boots at 30 days, nicotine free. I sent him some Emerson. He wrote back and said he wasn't in love with me. This is the part where you fall to your knees and slide down the tiles in the shower and sob. Something broke open in me exactly where the hole was, the place a father's love should have filled and didn't. After James, I sat across from my father and realized I don't need your lack of love as evidence of my worth. My father gave me breadcrumbs. If you've never had bread, you think breadcrumbs are love. They aren't. I gave them back to him. James didn't fill the hole. He broke the spell that made me believe it could be filled by a man. When I lost James, I lost the dream. My third husband and I met by a pole talking poetry. Rilke came up. He recited a line he half remembered. There's no place that does not see you. I finished it. You must change your life. That was 29 years ago. For me, love had become a choice, a verb. But he still believed in falling, the fantasy we're trained to want, the water we swim in, the part that mistakes romance for love. He went chasing windmills. The patterns were so familiar I could have written the script: betrayals, collapse, crises. That kind of falling isn't a choice. It's conditioning. You fall into it again and again until something interrupts the pattern enough. The crises woke him up. It pushed me somewhere else. I could stay or I could leave, and both were the same move. So I did neither. In that space, he had to meet himself. Underneath staying or leaving was the belief either would save me. That's the spell, the false binary. I didn't need to leave or stay because I was already whole. Changing sidewalks wouldn't change that. The hole is gone. In its place, he's there, and I'm here. I think that's love. He does too.
Yay!
Kelly, thank you.
Wow.
Yay!
Amazing.
Very
Beautiful.
beautiful. Thank you
dark
so
side.
much. Okay. Okay. Guess
Wow.
who's next?
I know.
I know too. Okay. This is Susan Kavinsky. Susan Kavinsky is somebody I met. I don't even remember how we met. It was about like my
I was
class or something.
I was begging you to fix my Substack,
Oh,
something like
right.
that.
Okay. So we met, and I think it was just like love at first talk. Um,
Yeah.
she's become this like really incredible teacher to me and friend.
Friend
And
first, I hope.
oh yeah, sort of like interchangeable. Anyway, it's gonna like go back and forth. Susan Kavinsky is a modern mythologist flying her broomstick through the compost heap of the collective unconscious, gathering our most outrageous stories and showing how they become our personal experience of life and, of course, the news. You know, our worldview. She can frequently be heard muttering, how on earth do we still believe in this shit? She writes modern mythology. Susan Kavinsky.
Hi, everybody. Well, here we go. When I was 15, my mother bought my father a love boat. He'd been the victim of patriarchal violence and shaming so severely that by the age of 42, he'd become violent himself. Deep in the abuser's pit of remorse, he told me he was worth more dead than alive. I wanted to argue with him because I loved arguing with him. I almost became a lawyer. I love arguing so much. But in the face of that depression, I couldn't muster the words. He'd been paralyzed by depression for 2 years, sitting in a wingback chair, drinking his breakfast instead of going out on road trips to sell insurance. He wrote fake sales call reports and the expense account claims to back them up, which is fraud, so he could hang out at the dairy farm up the road at milking times where several local men met up every day. The boys at the farm, they drank beer and told yarns in the barn. They belly laughed till their sides ached. To Dad, these were real men who worked with their hands, men who fixed things like your car or your plumbing. Well, he just sold insurance. So he dreamed of being a lobster man. And my mom wanted to save him, even though she was the recipient of most of his violence. For decades, Mom had been embezzling money from the household budget for her runaway from home fund and she used that to buy him a Maine lobster boat. She was risking her life to save his. I got you, she was saying. Quit your job. Let's sell the house when we'll move to East Bumfuck, Maine. Well, he loved that boat, but he couldn't quit the job, couldn't sell the 5-bedroom colonial, couldn't move away from his boys at the farm, couldn't free himself because secretly he feared that in telling the truth, he'd end up in jail. So he bought a 10-trap hobby license and pretended he was already free. One April afternoon, after returning from setting the traps, he caught the mooring in front of our house and fell or jumped overboard, plunging into water so cold that icebergs were still floating by on their spring pilgrimage to the ocean. Then, when I was 50-something, my friend was hosting a psychic at her house. A psychic? I scoffed, but I was curious, so we sat knee to knee in a small room with our eyes closed for so long, I want to open one eye and peek. That's when he said, "Your father is here." Well, no, my father was dead. He's showing me a hand waving from the middle of a dark river. He's calling to your neighbor for help. The man is rowing toward the hand, but the hand slips beneath the surface and never comes back up. Your father says he didn't kill himself. He wanted to live. He wants you to know that he loved you more than his own life. Isn't that just what every abandoned child longs to hear? Dad, I said, you got any better proof to support that argument?
Whoa, damn.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh,
Susan.
good.
Oh, wait, it's going to go off.
You can-
Got it in time.
Very good.
Getting better at this. Okay. Our last official storyteller of the event today is my pal, Irina Smith. Irina grew up bilingual, sarcastic, and slightly feral. She has ADHD, a graduate degree in comp lit, 3 children, 2 cats, 1 husband, and low-key PTSD from working as a college admissions counselor in Silicon Valley. She publishes personal statements, and she will make you laugh every time you read one of her pieces. Irina, what?
No pressure, Nan. Thanks. Okay, everybody laugh. I was in middle school during the height of my Love Boat obsession. And I loved the Love Boat because it was a sunny, cheerful show where everyone knew exactly who they were and exactly what they were supposed to be doing. Prudent Captain Stubing, Goofy Gopher the purser, Urbane Doc, Perky Julie the cruise director, and Jolly Isaac, who tended bar. I, on the other hand, had no idea who I was or what I was supposed to be doing. It did not help that at this time I was a student at St. Lawrence Academy, which I attended because we had just moved to the suburbs and my parents had no idea which schools were good. Our Irish Catholic neighbor recommended St. Lawrence Academy, and my parents were like, "Oh, cool, yeah, let's do that." This will come as no surprise to anyone, but being a recent Russian Jewish immigrant at a Catholic middle school was not a positive experience. In fairness, I must acknowledge that I reaped the dividends years later after I pointed out that the dropped chalice in James Joyce's short story, The Sisters, suggested a fall from grace and a perversion of communion, an observation that astonished and impressed everyone, even the Catholics. But that was later. at St. Lawrence, I kept busy by trying to blend into the surroundings and to decipher the perplexing anthropological structures that made some people popular and other people pariahs. The Love Boat, which set sail precisely at 9 p.m. every Saturday night and had a crew whose reliability I could count on, was, if you'll excuse the pun, a port in a storm. When I got to high school, I found my people and realized that my foreignness and my obsession with books and writing and television and pop culture was kind of cool. In college, I let my freak flag fly, by which I mean that I majored in English while taking Russian literature courses and also wrote for the Daily Bruin, where I found even more of my people. The Daily Bruin was located on the bottom floor of Kirchhoff Hall, a beautiful Gothic building on Bruin Walk that, as a bonus, had a women's bathroom with a good mirror on the second floor. Is there anything better than having your best self reflected back at you? Is it any wonder there was always a line to use the second floor women's bathroom? So there I was, living my best life, and just when I thought it couldn't get any better, I walked out of the Bruin office with another writer late one night. And right there on the front lawn of Kirchhoff Hall, an arm's reach away, was a camera crew and Klieg lights and Ted freaking Lang. That's Isaac the bartender on the Love Boat to you, dressed in Elizabethan finery, because they were filming Othello right there in front of Kirchhoff Hall, 15 freaking feet away. And you better believe we skedaddled over there with our reporter notebooks and pens at the ready and asked Mr. Lang or Ted or Isaac or Othello, sir, if he would please sign our notebooks. And he smiled and said, of course he would. And then he did this.
Hello.
And honestly, that moment was one of the major highlights of my life. And I am not ashamed to admit it, because I know who I am now. And that is a person who loves books and writing and who will stand in a bathroom for 20 minutes, even the bathroom line for 20 minutes straight, even if she doesn't have to go, just to get a peek at her best self in the good mirror.
I told you people would laugh. You're funny. You can't help it.
Yay.
Irina, thank you so much. Okay, and for our last reader, me. I'm memoirist in chief at The Next Right Thing, and I designed writers' Substack sites. Also, I'm a graphic designer and I help people look their best. I'm a cheerleader for other writers, and I believe that there's more than enough readers for everyone. I don't believe that we have to be competitive to win at writing or life. We have to be our best selves, keep sharing our truth, and making each other laugh. We will get through this nightmare together. At least that's what I keep telling myself. And sometimes I even believe it.
No.
Okay, could everybody mute, please? Thanks. He kissed me. He was the cutest guy ever. Brian, my heart. He was a ginger, just like my mom, which planted a seed of hope in her disappointed heart. I didn't come out a redhead. I was a common brunette, like my dad. But Brian, he had red hair and a face full of freckles to boot, a real redhead. He wore plaid short-sleeve shirts that somehow looked good on him. Oh, and that crooked front tooth. It only showed when he smiled. We spent time together almost every day. We shared an appreciation of art, music, and architecture. We liked the same foods. One day, we were sharing a snack, and our conversation turned to marriage. We'd never discussed it before. I don't even remember who brought it up. I said that when we got married, we should use my last name. It was nicer than his. Neater, simpler, Tepper. His last name was Burbalowski. Nancy Burbalowski? I loved my last name. I didn't want to give it up. I didn't want to disappear. And Burbalowski, I think not. He said, Nancy, that's not how it's done. Guys never take a girl's last name. I was flummoxed. He got angry. I got angrier. We started yelling at each other. His face turned bright red. He folded his arms over his chest and leaned back in his chair. He looked at me like I was a monster. He was smiling, but it was a sinister smile. That crooked tooth of his didn't look so cute anymore. I thought, I don't think I want to marry this guy. We were sitting at our table at an impasse when a very tall woman with brown, stringy hair walked over and stood there, towering over us. She looked at me. She looked at Brian. She said, Nancy, Brian, what's going on? It got very quiet. I looked up at her and said, well, Mrs. Brownstein, I said to Brian that when we get married, we'll take my last name. But he said that never happens. Do girls always take boys' last name? She smiled and burst out laughing. She said, Nancy, Brian is absolutely right. The girl always takes the boy's last name, silly. She turned on her heel, her oversized baggy gray sweater trailing behind her, and walked away, shaking her head and laughing all the way back to her desk at the front of the classroom. I was mortified. I was furious. I was on fire. Right then, right there, I decided never, ever give my name away. I've kept that promise for 60 years. That day, a baby feminist got her wings. About a week later, I got sick. I had a high fever and swollen glands. I was delirious and exhausted. My mom set me up on the black couch in our living room and bundled me up. I missed a month of kindergarten. Brian had it too, but not as bad. He came down with it first. Mono, the kissing disease. I won't say that I never kissed another boy, but I had serious doubts going forward. And besides, kissing girls is so much better. Thanks, everybody.
That's awesome.
Perfect ending.
That's our show. Everybody, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming, for showing up. Really, this is like I've been so stressed out for the last month from the last show, wanting to make this, really good for everybody. And I think the improvements are they're helping. They really are. Does everybody feel good about like the mics off and the applause and the
Yeah, it totally
Yeah.
worked.
Okay,
sure.
good. Because I'm
Right.
really thinking that if we can get everybody to understand that there really can't be background noise, we could leave everybody unmuted for the whole show, but we're going to talk about that.
I don't
So-
think you're going to be able to.
It's
do
not
that.
worth it.
Okay.
It's
Do it.
not worth
That's
it.
Definitely
a lot,
not
my
worth
friend.
it. There.
It's
Okay, we won't
100%
do that.
not worth
So,
it.
so we'll just kind of do it the way we were doing it. Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying
that's
now?
great.
Fine.
Okay, great. All right.
Yeah.
Way
You
less
can't let people
distracting.
I
behave
got
like
really-
adults. It doesn't happen.
It doesn't. I know. It's not the same energy, right, as
This was
sitting
a
in the
terrific
theater.
event, Nan.
So,
Eileen.
Man.
thanks, Jody.
And
Thank
readers.
you.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
everybody was so great. So I just want to thank you. I really do hope that for those of you who haven't sort of bought in yet, and are checking it out, that this will make you feel confident about becoming annual paid subscribers. We need that support. It's not cheap to do this, and I love doing it, but we need the support. I'm also looking into nonprofit fiscal sponsorship, so that if you want to be donors, you'll get a tax deduction. And I really want to add that piece really soon. And that's it. That's the
Thank
show.
you,
Please,
Liz.
reach out to me if there are writers here who haven't reached out to me yet to do a slam. Do a slam. It will change everything for you. I promise. Well, I can't promise that. It changed everything for me. It made me a writer.
I want to say a little shout out to Nan's mom. I hope you're really proud of her. She did a lot of work on this, and it's amazing.
Well said, Jody.
I don't know where she went. Thanks, Jody.
There's, I saw her someplace.
Nan's mom
I
is
saw
like
her and then she
Simone Simone.
disappeared. Anyway, yeah.
Could I ask a
Who's
question?
right there?
Could
Sure,
you list
who's
the
asking?
themes for the it's Rachel.
There she
Excuse me?
is.
I just had a question. I was wondering, could I take a group shot and I'll post it and just
Sure.
applaud what a great group?
I'm good
Is there-
with that. Is everybody
there
okay?
Anyone
with
that wants to
Yeah,
turn?
yeah.
Oh,
No,
sure.
we have to take more than one because there's more than
Not
one
without
screen of
lipstick.
people.
That's right. We have to switch. We have to
might
go.
want-
Oh, there are three groups.
Three
Okay.
screens of people.
So,
No, but only the writers, right? Or no?
No, everyone.
so
I
I'm going to count
I
to
want
three.
evidence.
I'm going to
don't
count
know.
to three, and I'll do the first window. But you won't know which window you're in, so just smile each time. All
Okay,
right.
Rachel. Thank
One,
you.
Love it.
2, 3. All right, first
Thanks.
one's done. Now we've got the second block to do. Thanks for this, and I'll post and I'll tap Nan and a couple more of you. All right,
Thank you so
second
much,
group.
Rachel.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Somebody's so funny.
This
Okay,
is
and then
it.
the last group. Oh, that's the last
One more
group.
to go, Nan.
No, we're
Uh,
good. We're good.
I think it's just two
Oh,
groups,
she's-
right?
I
I
think
want to
it's
say
just
hi
two.
to
A lot of
Marge.
people left.
There were three, but I think probably people left. There
Yeah.
were-
Well,
Now
they
we
missed
can-
out.
now we
It
can
doesn't count
party.
unless you make it in the group pick, right?
Right?
See
Right,
Marge,
you were not- yeah.
Marge there. Marge and I know each other through the same way I know Sarah from T-Touch.
That's so
Hi,
cool.
Jody.
Hi,
I didn't know that's
Marge.
how you knew each other. That's
That's
so
how I know
cool.
Sarah
Yeah.
is from T-Touch.
Hi, Marge.
That's so neat. Hi, Jackie Wolf.
Hey, very small world.
Great
Isn't it beautiful? And you know
Hi,
what?
Substackers.
This is what I'm talking about. This is community, right?
Yeah.
This is
This
us
is
Yeah.
the part.
coming together. And if there are people out here who've been thinking about going on Substack but haven't yet,
It's a good place.
it's my happy
Absolutely,
place.
yeah.
All right. So
Someone
I'm gonna-
asked for next month's theme and
So
date.
next month, thank you, Jody. Next month's theme is ERA now, damn it. And we have 2 spots available in that slam. We're going to have some really exciting readers next month. Abigail Thomas, the memoirist, will be honoring us with her presence. Dina Honor. I think a lot of you know who Dina is. She writes American Woman. She lives in Germany. She lives in Berlin. She is a fierce feminist writer. Oh, Susan just got here at the very end. Hi, Susie. You're late. And I'm happy you're here. Dina's amazing, and she's going to join us next month. And we have a couple of other people. We have some really great people stepping up. So if
What
you
time is it
want,
in Germany?
it's 6 hours later, and she has permission to record and send me her video. Anybody who is 5 hours later and more, you can send a video. because it's a lot to ask, especially us Altacockers. You know, it's like I get into bed at 8 o'clock usually. So yeah, that's why I made it 5. So that's it. That's it. Anybody else have any other questions? Anybody else want to know anything else? DM me on Substack, or reach out to me at nantepper@gmail.com, and we'll get you set up. Thanks.
Thanks.
We
Great
have
to put
some
faces
exit
to
music,
names.
please. Can we get exit music?